Thank you very much for pouring into the room. We had 25 people leave the room here in London from the last, in our break to go to other events, and about 400 people pile in, many of whom were men, I'm really pleased to see, for this panel discussion on women in procurement and supply chain. I'm Tim Curtis, I'm the host. As you've seen, I am the token man on stage, and I am delivering no words of wisdom. I'm merely facilitating what's going to be a great conversation. May I introduce, please, our panel guest, Regina Arriagada, Global Head of Procurement, Technical and Logistics at Nestlé. Miriam Quattrone, who, at the end, from Philip Morris International, who kicked off stage 2 this morning with an amazing keynote about the transformation within PMI and how procurement has played a leading role in that. And Rebecca Simpson, Chief Procurement Officer at Royal Mail. So set the scene. Is there a problem? What is the problem? Is there a challenge? Are there opportunities? Set the scene. Women in procurement. Who wants to pick up? Rebecca.
No, it's always me. I would say it's opportunity, and like you said, just even looking at this morning, how many people are interested, male and female, is a great sign in itself. I've worked in procurement and supply chain for a long time, and things have definitely changed over the last 20 or so years. I've also worked in very male-dominated industries, so construction, engineering, oil and gas. So you kind of got a double whammy almost. But for me, I think the challenge and the opportunity is really still not just procurement and supply chain. It's how we lift women up and give them the opportunity for those most senior roles. We see women coming into the workplace doing really well through graduate roles, and then typically tail off a little bit as I think life also gets in the way with parenthood. Maybe looking after other carers and that kind of thing. So it's really how we can create an opportunity where women can thrive, really. But there's huge opportunity. We've seen, growth in women in leadership positions in procurement and supply chain massively leap up even over the last couple of years. And I can personally, you can see it, in terms of who you meet. So yeah, it's the opportunity is there for sure. And I think as procurement gets broader, it's not just negotiation, it's sustainability, ESG, ethics. It's a much broader topic these days than perhaps it once was, and can perhaps play to some of women's strengths a little bit more.
Miriam, has your industry been traditionally male-dominated, or am I wrong there? But what's the issue that you see?
As you well said, we have evolved as an organization, putting a lot of emphasis on D&I. I mean, when I started in PMI, there was not really much focus. So today is our bread and butter, is in our agenda, corporate agenda. So there is a lot of attention happening now towards women in leadership. And as you well said, when we go out from the university, we are on career mode, right? But then along the way, we introduce new priorities in life, right? And that's where I think the value of the company needs to be there to bring the lights and the attention, right? To say, you know what, you arrive to a career stage where set well your ambition and make sure that you follow your ambition, whatever the ambition is. It could be personal, it could be professional, and so on. And I would say, in my personal experience, I missed that at a certain point in time. I was so enjoying the ride of doing a good job and so on that I realized that, and I'm trying to transmit this to my mentee now, that we needed to stop and think who we want to be in the next 5 years and be very clear with our aspirations. And I think this is the nuance where we need to accompany our employees on the growth. And it's not only about developing people in leadership positions, but also teaching them how to build a network. It's extremely important to be known in the organizations, as well as to be accompanied by a mentor which we trust, for which we can be very open and say, you know what, they asked me to become a CPO, but I don't want to be CPO. What does it mean for me then in terms of growth, right? Or I want to become a CPO. What does it take to get there, right? What do I miss? So mentorship become very important in the development of those people. And then the ability to embrace a project which makes you visible and known as capable to drive an agenda, right? Being courageous to take stuff beyond your responsibilities and be more exposed to cross-functional activities. So this was was not in the past. It was more something that came across also with the PMI transformation we had. And I've been lucky enough that the strategic agenda on D&I was in place that helped me to further grow and stay very focused on where I want to be in the next 5 years.
And Regina, Nestle, what experiences have you got?
Well, at Nestle, of course, we consider that diversity and inclusion is part of our essence and our DNA. We're really focusing on gender balance and also giving women opportunities at senior positions. So we have a lot of initiatives nowadays in which we worked with women, mentoring them. So we have the Women Mentor Cycle that is very well known within the organization to help others grow. I would say for us and for me, I think, and connecting to Miriam's point, I think it's stepping back and add that component. I need to plan for my career. Yes. I need to really set that ambition that Miriam was discussing. And what do I want to do as a woman? Because you have competing personal priorities, but also your professional ambitions that you need to step up. So I would say speak up for what you want and voice that over your company, your network, because there's someone that's going to be listening to you. And I would say the fact that as women, we have the courage to say, I want to be the next CPO, for example, of a company, or I want to be the next head of supply chain of this market, of this. So I would say it is that ambition and courage to really position yourself into something bigger. And it's building that courage and confidence that you as a woman were chosen to do something different, and that you may have a uniqueness that others do not have to showcase a value added in that personal, I would say, experience that you may have.
I have heard it said that men are more likely to stand up and shout for themselves than women. And have you seen that women in procurement haven't done that enough?
Yeah.
Because you were talking, Rebecca, about women being able, or so far in your experience, you see them get to a certain level, but not always getting to that next top level.
Yeah, and I think we've all touched on it. There's multiple reasons for that, but I think confidence is definitely one, and that speaking up and, as you say, getting other experience or leaning into, more complex challenges or difficult conversations or other areas, so you start to become known for something and building your brand. And I think typically, we're being very generalist here, but women are, feel more uncomfortable in terms of, promoting ourselves. So we need, which is why mentorship, I would actually go further than that, sponsorship, to men and other leaders in the room. We need people to sponsor, see potential in us and actually, give that opportunity to people, take a risk sometimes on somebody within your teams, within your organisations, because, typically we're not the ones that go, it's me, but doing a cracking job. So, it's providing those opportunities, really.
I'm going to come to the audience for questions. So if I turn this way, bung your hand up, and I'll take any questions as we go along. I particularly want questions from men about this. That'll be interesting. But to develop the point, what difference do experienced, well-trained, capable women make that perhaps is very different to well-trained, capable, experienced men?
Without upsetting anyone.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I always think, and a lot of us say, whatever your difference is can be your strength, and that's what we have to try and find. And I started off, and there's no doubt, certainly I think when you're younger in your career and maybe, female or a different ethnicity or whatever it is, people have perceptions, they have, biases. So we have to try and break those down. I personally am a fighter, and I like competition. So if you can see that perception, it's like, well, what can I do to break that? Because I don't accept it. So I would purposefully put myself into more difficult situations and then perhaps break down some of those, misconceptions that, oh, well, you're a certain way because you're young and female and whatever. So it's interesting.
No, and I just wanted to compliment, because I think at the end of the day, it's not because it's a challenge because you're a woman. women need to be ready to face any challenge within an organization. So I would say we need to walk away from the diversity of the challenge, and we need to say, okay, as a woman, I'm prepared. I prepare myself to face a situation. I prepare myself to have that conversation with that difficult stakeholder. That male stakeholder has a lot of an expertise that you don't have, but you're ready for it. You were chosen for it as a company. And I would say role modeling, it's something that also Miriam touched, like you have to look up, and who are you looking up to guide you and to follow and to see, okay, I really like this leader at my company that I look up for, and I like this particularities of this person and how she leads or he leads a team that I want to embed in my leadership style. So I would say also it's not about mentoring, it's also about looking for someone that is greater than you that you can learn from, and just go ask that person. It is also about receiving the feedback and just the courage again to be. I'm not here because I'm a woman. Well, maybe today, but but normally in the job.
Because you're here on merit.
Normally in the job, you're there.
In the job.
Yes,
that's what you want. Yeah,
exactly. Because you have the competences, the skills, and the capabilities, and you earn it.
Sure. Miriam?
I was thinking about diversity, right? We talk about women in leadership and diversity. I think this is, for me, absolutely not an issue. I don't see the diversity in that sense. I see more priorities in life may trigger you from A to B, and helping the women to remain more focused towards business priorities, to be able to shape their leadership and their role in the future. And the companies plays a lot of roles in that sense, and in the corporate strategies. It's not only about individual, it's also accompanying those individuals in their development, having focus on the growth of those women and making sure they are building the right network and the right contact to be able to go knock the door and saying, I need your help. The company strategies need to accompany the employee life cycle, from the hiring to the end of the career. And this is super important. If we have the right metrics, we can measure. If we can enable gender balance since the very beginning at the recruitment process, it's fundamental to create that unbiased, if we want. Making sure that we are very fair on the performance of the people, right? And also equip the people, the individuals, the female, with the right development program. And women in leadership play as well a role in introducing the leadership styles to other women. I think we need to also be inspired by women. The only diversity I see in the role, male, female, we put heart, we put passion. We really enjoy what we do and we transmit as women, and this is something is a plus. That we need to continue fostering that diversity. And I think if we as an organization, we measure and we make sure that we have that gender balance well in control, and we stimulate that aspiration, I think we are in the right place for big opportunities to also elevate women in leadership.
So specifically, I mean, what does a company need to do to open that door at the top, so that capable, well-trained women can make that leap to the top? What do boards need to think about to put in place within a company?
The sponsorship comes from the top. So the sponsor need to be onboarded. The senior management team need to be onboarded, right? It has to become a corporate program, like DNI, right? Mm-hmm. And then it has to be embedded in the behavior of the individuals through the life cycle, right? So I said before, diversity is a fact, inclusion is an act, right? And goes with the behavior of the people. So we need to remain very, very inclusive in the DNA agenda at a corporate level, but as well as individual and employees.
Regina, advice for your board.
Yeah, no, and I would add that nowadays companies are measuring gender balance. Yeah. So we do have measures that we monitor and are published in our reports annually. And also we have a specific strategy that accompanies different initiatives within the Nestlé Group at least, and I'm sure in the other companies too. For example, it's the flexible work policies for new parents, in which we were discussing when you have those competing priorities as a parent, you have to understand what to do. Companies now, they have these flexible policies to support women. We also have initiatives to mentor women, as I was mentioning before, the mentoring cycle. We have also equal payment initiatives for women and men that we are trying to get better at to understand where the gaps are and then how do we solve those. And we also extend these initiatives to promote women in positions to our suppliers. With the procurement function, we work a lot with our suppliers, especially the agricultural sector. So then we promote the gender value through the value chains to ensure that we can touch more spaces and we can also contribute to the communities and the society on the topic.
And Rebecca?
Yeah, I mean, I think they've covered most of it. It is, I mean, those policies and that inclusivity, and that's everything, the language, and for us in those positions to speak up also, you know, if there's behaviour that needs to be called out, which can happen. I think we also have to realise it's not just the company though, as well as individuals, because of those competing priorities and what do you want, actually think about how can I make this work, because there will be compromises, there will be sacrifices, and it's not just a work network, but you might need a personal network, you know, supportive partners, you know, friendships, whatever, who can help with some of those other priorities that you've got in your life to enable you to show up at work and, you know, be prepared, to your point, to be able to face into everything. So there's the company policy, the culture, but then I think it's also your own sort of framework in terms of how you are then able to operate.
And I was discussing with Regina before in the backstage, right? We talk about work-life balance, right? And women, we don't have work-life balance. Not in the office, not at home. We have work. And then we need to pick up the right balance between orchestrating the family, kids, and professional life, right? And this is a fact that we have on top of our responsibility, we like it or not. So I was saying, okay, my husband helps me, giving me the financial support to orchestrate my work-life balance. But in reality, we are everywhere. And yes, when you grow in an organization and you assume and you get more and more responsibility on leadership role, the compass get towards the professional lives and get less and less in the professional one. Then you need to have this natural way that Regina has perfectly in orchestrating family and life in a way that you can do both. You will arrive to a point where you need to make up your priorities, right? And that's maybe when we go to the top of the pyramid, what really prevents us is not the others, maybe is what do we want, okay? And we need to make it very clear and be comfortable with that. And that's my message. And one day my dream is we stop measuring these things. Yeah. And we will become a fully gender balanced and appreciated with what we do everywhere. The fact that we need to measure today, it means that we have an opportunities to improve and gives us the compass to make things right on the life cycle, right? But one day we need to stop measuring and saying we are gender balanced, right?
Sure. There was a lady with a hand up. Can we get a microphone across to somebody for a question? Thank you.
Hi, panel. I'm Siv from GEP. I've been working in organizations that have strong D&I priorities, which are matched with the effort, right? So I've received opportunities because I'm a woman. My question is, how do you leverage those, right? How do you capitalize on those experiences without letting it get to you that you were handed the opportunity because you're a woman and not because you deserve it, right? I mean, yeah, that's my question.
It's a good question, and one I daren't ever ask. It's a great question. Regina, do you want to dare you pick up?
Okay, so I would say, first of all, you got the opportunity because you're the talented woman with the right skills and competences for that. I think this is my point is like about that personal confidence that you are put in a place and a position because you were the chosen one. So I would say you're not, as in companies, we do not promote women because they're women, at least at Nestle, and I'm sure in the others we do not. We promote women because they are the right talent. And we want to promote female talent because we know that we have this gap towards diversity and inclusion that we need to catch up. And I would say it's about the work that you're going to do to showcase, and you start with a bias. And I would say we're training our organizations within that bias. We have it's one of the initiatives that we have at Nestle to ensure that you are past that bias, and the people around you are past that bias, so that they understand what you're capable of. And I would say at the end of the day is you're going to showcase what you did and the benefits you brought to that organization with your work, with your facts, where value, with your contribution. So I would say sometimes you're going to have to prove it, but you have to be confident that you were not chosen because you're a woman, and you have to voice it up, because I would say speaking up and just sharing it makes the room understand that this no longer should be an issue. You were not there because you're a woman.
Yeah, I mean, totally agree. Personally, I would feel terrible if I thought that had been the case, because you want the job on merits. And, you know, maybe if there's two candidates and there's no differentiator, but actually you're going to prove it and you're going to show it and all the rest of it. And actually, Chris will remember one of my team in the audience, when I was in a previous role, they were recruiting for a global head at the time. And I was sitting in a position. They went to the market in the US and in the UK. As it was, I got the position. And the feeling in the organisation was brilliant, because you've tested the market, they've gone out and done a full market test, and I'd got the role anyway. So you knew absolutely you were there on merit, and that's what you've really, really got to fight for. And occasionally, if it's in the balance, a decision has to be made, but then you're going to show why it was the right decision after that. So, yeah.
I totally agree. I mean, in the organization, I've never seen growing people just because of the gender. We cannot take that risk if we want. So be confident that there is an agenda behind the development of the people. Maybe the program are matching in time, right? You are growing and there are program on it, and makes you perceive that you are the one chosen because of the program, the KPI. That definitely not. We have a too big a responsibility, and of course we accept risk. Of course, people might not be fully ready for that role, but the potential is there. Then we want to invest and develop. These are the type of thinking. But build your confidence, because this is a bigger risk to just promote women for sickness for promoting women.
And if I may add, because in the companies we're working in succession planning to build the pipeline of the talent that it's going to come across the new roles. And nowadays, to build that succession planning, you also have to maintain gender balance within those succession plannings. So we also measure that to ensure that we have equal participation in the future pipeline. And if we don't, we look for it outside, inside, and we develop that talent to ensure that also from a growth perspective, we can have a balance in the future talent that will come in the organization.
And was it you, Regina, who mentioned earlier on about looking down your supply chains to ensure that they are doing the same thing too?
Correct. So we do this partnership with our suppliers, and specifically in the agricultures and industries that they may need our support. So then we also help them, and we practice initiatives like this one to ensure the gender balance across the value chain too. So with our coffee, etc.
There's a question at the front, if we can run a microphone down. In the second row, thank you.
Hi, I'm Kelly from Baringa Partners. You talk about managing priorities. When you were faced with conflicting priorities, how did you navigate through that, and what do you wish you'd done differently?
Orchestration is an art. And that's what we constantly do. We need to set the priority and go for the priority, and accept that 100% will not be. And then ensuring that the priority are executed at the right place in the machine. We don't need to do everything by ourselves. We can get help. And that's the use of resources become magical, if you want. and we are well equipped as women in doing that because we are doing every day, right? Now, when it comes at work, yes, it comes that sometimes we get office very late and kids are at home and need to be fed and so on. But then husbands are there, nannies, governance. I mean, we need to get help for sure. If we go to the role of growing an organization, we cannot think to manage things in the same way we were doing before. So the help has to be there and has to be sophisticated help.
Yeah.
My eye is on the clock, and I must take one last question. And one has come in online. For those people watching around the world online, use the app to send your questions through. And one person already has, and it's an amusing one, so I've got to ask it. What advice have you got for the men in your company to be an ally? To do the things that you need to, I'm assuming they are not already on board.
I can start. So I would say for those male leaders, I would say it's also, I mean, inclusiveness and consideration and ensuring that within your companies you have this planning and succession planning that consider both genders. Also helping women growth, giving them the chances. I would say the more women have experience, rehearsal, and live through experiences in different positions, the more ready we're going to be for the future. So if you do have talent, female, within your teams, just give them the chance to showcase what they got. You'll be surprised.
There's some nodding going.
Exactly. It is just give some opportunity, and actually, make suggestions. There's a new initiative, there's a new project, need somebody to lead it. We want a diverse team, whatever. But, create opportunities because, like we said before, we might not be the best at going, I'll do that. So, encourage, that broader experience because the more experience you've got, the better, you're going to be. And like I said before, I think sponsorship, where you a bit to that point of, we all take risks on individuals, but where you see that potential, whoever they are, male, female, whatever, take a risk of people within your organisation to, develop that pipeline. Yeah,
to remain to be unbiased. I mean, we are individuals, and with the same opportunities. We understand that on the back end, we think women have more responsibilities, less focused, but it's not true. We can orchestrate this very, very well, just give equal opportunities and take decisions in a group of diverse team, right? The diversity within the leadership team is super important to take the right decisions. So the promotion of an individual should not be based out of one person. Absolutely. It has to come from the development program.
We have eaten up all the time we're allowed. In fact, we've more than eaten that. We're well into our networking break. So I have to draw a line for which I'm really sorry. It's an amazing conversation. To me, the yardstick of success is, as you said, I think we don't have to have this conversation again. I'm horrified to hear that personally, I've always had female bosses. Always, when I've been employed, just always have, ever since I was 17. So it gobsmacks me that we're still having to talk about the gender pay issues and other things. But here we are today in 2024 discussing it. Perhaps in how many years' time it's not a subject for discussion. And let's hope that we get to that stage. But I want to thank our panel very much indeed.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.